It's Saturday night, and you know what that means. Hello, I'm Luke Michael Howard, clinical hypnotist, addiction specialist, here with your Facebook Live. Live from the most locked down city in the whole wide world. So tonight's Facebook Live is entitled My Street Fight with the Homeless Meth Addict. Yes, it really happened. Happened yesterday, and I will disclose what happened and what I learned from that actually yesterday. So we're going to give people just a little bit of time to come on. If you're joining us, don't be a stranger. Say hi, wave, give me a thumbs up on your keyboard. Introduce yourself on the keyboard below. Let us know who you are, because we are all friends here. So it's last night. It's Friday, and I'm walking home. It's about 6:30 p.m. Now, a little bit of back story. Oh, the Hypno Pixie is here. A little bit of backstory here. So here's my personal philosophy on life. There's going to be some colourful language tonight, as there often is, so that's just your warning. That's just your disclaimer. If you have any little ones around or impressionable ears, there will be some colourful language coming up, so you have been warned. So my personal philosophy in life, if I boil it down, is simply this. I don't care what you do. Hell, I don't even care if you burn down your side of the world. Just don't fuck with me, and don't fuck with people that I love. Don't touch me, and don't touch people that I love. As long as you do that, we don't have a problem. Now, you touch me or someone that I love, or you fuck with me or someone that I love, then we have an issue. Okay, so that's my philosophy going into this. Where I live in Toronto, I live right bang smack downtown. And if I walk to the mall, which is the Eaton Centre, to my home, it's about a 7 or 8 minute walk. If I take that 7 or 8 minute walk from about 7 p.m. to about 11 p.m. at night, on any night, I or you or anyone, you're probably going to be stopped by about 10 homeless people, or people that are high, or people that appear to be homeless, or high on drugs. It's quite unpleasant, especially every night. So every night, about 10 people. I'm not making this shit up. But listen, I understand people have their hustle. People have to get by. They have to do what they have to do to survive. And I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is people being abusive. That's what I don't appreciate. This is where the story comes in. So, it is 6:30 approximately yesterday, Friday. And I need to get to the juice place to get a juice, because the juice place, I believe, is about to close. And also, me and the Hypno Pixie have ordered a curry, and I need to get home for my cheap meal. It's arriving at any time, so I'm kind of in a rush. I'm kind of in a hurry. I want to get home for the food, and I want to get my juice before the juice place closes. So I've got my headphone in, and it's raining as well. It's just about raining. It's about 0 temperature. So all this is going on. Oh, and I need to piss as well. So it's a perfect storm, right? This is all going on. This is all real yesterday. So as I cross over the street, I'm aware that there appears to be a homeless gentleman, and he's got his quilt there, got his pillow there. I just see him out of the corner of my eye. I don't pay too much attention to it, but I'm aware that he's there, and he's doing his hustle. He's asking for money, you know. It is what it is. No judgment there, right? As I walk past the guy, need to piss, need to get my juice before the juice place closes, need to get home because my food's getting cold, it's really cold and it's starting to rain. All this is going on. As I cross over the road, the guy, he asks for some money, and I vaguely hear him. I've got the headphone in, right? Vaguely hear him, but you know, I'm on a beeline. I've got stuff to do, right? And then he says something along the lines of, too good to stop, too good to talk to me. I hear it, let it go. Cross over the street, and then he calls me, are you ready? A cock sucker. I'm now in the middle of the road, and I'm like, I can't have this. I can't have this. I appreciate the hustle, getting money, making ends meet, all right? I get it. But when it becomes abusive, it's over step line. And I hadn't seen the guy. I just was aware that it appeared that there was a man begging. So I stopped in the middle of the street, and I wasn't angry. I wasn't angry. I wasn't fuming. But my boundary had been hit. Hey Deb, how are you? My boundary had been touched. I actually wasn't angry. I wasn't angry. But I stopped in the middle of the road. I'm like, and I'm dealing with this daily in Toronto. Like I say, lived about 10 times between, if you walk home from Dundas Square to where I live, about 10 times you're going to stop. And it's okay, people asking for money. It is what it is, all right? Wish everyone had enough money. They didn't have to ask for money and so forth. It's when people are abusive. Specifically, this isn't against homeless people. This isn't against drug addicts. This is against any dickhead who is abusive. Be that homeless, be that they have a beautiful home, be that they have no money and they're a street beggar versus they're a millionaire. It's about people being abusive and people being dicks. Okay. So I stop in the middle of the road and I'm like, I have to do something, don't I? I can't let that go. And again, I didn't know if the guy was big, small, if he was high, if he had any weapons, if there was more than this one guy. I'd just seen someone or his bags and so forth, and his mattress or his quilt. That was all I was aware of. So I turned around and I crossed back over the road. And now, you know, I might not get to the juice place, right? But I've been triggered. So I walk across the street and I see the only homeless man that appears to be there. And he comes up to me again. He actually comes up to me and he asks if I have a light. And I don't want a case of mistaken identity. So I'm like, are you the guy that just asked for money as I crossed the street? He's like, yeah. I'm like, and what else did you say to me? He stops. He thinks about it. He's like, oh, I asked if you were too good for me. And what else did you say to me? I was like, nothing else. No, there was something else. Something else you said to me. What else was it that you said to me? He's like, and he stutters. I'm like, you called me a cocksucker, didn't you? He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, would you like to apologize about that? He's like, yeah, I would. I'm like, I'm happy that you apologized, because we don't have any more beef. Because if I wasn't such a nice guy, I'd reach into my pocket, and I reach into my pocket where I have a spray in pepper spray. Because where I run at night, there's a lot of coyotes, believe it or not, in the park, and other unsavory people. So I'm like, if I wasn't such a nice guy, I would take this spray out, which is right here. I'd spray you in the eyes, and then I would proceed to beat the hell out of you until you weren't moving or until I broke my hand. But we don't have to go there because you apologized, and that's okay. It's like, yeah, you know what? You know, I shouldn't have said that. And then this is where the genius came in. This is where the genius came in. Why I got so much respect for this homeless man called Mike. So much respect for him. You know what he says to me? With not a hint of sarcasm, he says to me, like, what's a better way of asking for money? What's a better way of going about that? I'm like, first of all, don't call people cocksuckers, because I'm like, I barely heard you, but I heard that. That's why I came back. And I'm like, but it's a great question. Isn't it a great question? It's like, you know, he asked me, how should I ask people? You know, how should I, do that? And I said, when I used to live in Ottawa, there used to be a homeless gentleman, a veteran, and he'd walk around the market and he'd go up to people, and he was clearly homeless, right? He had some addiction issues. It appeared that way anyways. I don't know if he did. But he wouldn't be holding his hand out, just asking, just taking, a value taker. Even though his situation was he was a man asking for money, he didn't go in with the open hand. You know what he did? Genius. He'd go up to people and he said, hey, listen, I'm a veteran, I'm 55 years of age. I'm going to get on the ground and I'll do 50 one-arm push-ups if you just give me the change, a little bit of change. And don't give it me that. I'll do the push-ups now. I want to show you that I can do it. And people are like, you can't do it. Little old scrawny guy. You're not going to do 50 one-arm, not two-arm, one-arm push-ups. Yeah, if you can do it, I'll give you some change. And he wasn't hustling them. He said, listen, if I do those 50 push-ups, will you give it? And the guy would do his 51 arm push-ups multiple times, more than me, right? And they'd give him change. And I thought, what a genius thing that guy did. Rather than just value taking, Give me. You owe me something. Give me. Give it. You need to look after me. Give me. Give me the money you got. He didn't lead with that. He led with, let me show you something interesting. Let me entertain you. And if I entertain you, if I show you something interesting, if I do these 51 arm push-ups, will you give me some change? And almost everyone did that I saw, because they'd never been approached by someone in the street who required money, right? But was willing to give something first. With whatever he couldn't give anything else, he could give his physical prowess. So I told Mike, my new homeless friend, about it. He's like, wow, that's like really amazing. I'm like, and I don't know if you can do 51 arm push-ups. I don't know if there's anything you can do. But if I was homeless and I was there, and I thought about this before, how could I give value to somebody, give them, and then once they were happy with that, and it might not be money or something, but maybe something I can give something positive to somebody. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's a joke, I don't know. And then, hey, could you help me out now? It's a law called the law of, and I'm going to mess it up. I always mess actually pronouncing this word, reciprocation. You give something. You don't give it to receive, you give it. But there's this interesting law with most human beings. If you look at Robert Cialdini's book on persuasion, it's called Influence. It's a great book on persuasion if you want to ever learn it. But the law is, one of the laws is, most times, nothing works 100%, right? But when you give something of value to somebody and you ask for nothing in return, oftentimes people are going to want to give you something back to balance it out in some way because they've been given something. This is what the homeless guy, the guy in Ottawa, the one-arm push-up veteran guy gave. And Mike's like, yeah, that's really amazing. I need to think about how I'm going to do that. And he goes, do you have a light? And I'm like, Mike, I don't have a light. And actually another reason, you imagined I had a light, didn't you? He's like, yeah. And I pull up my sleeves and I show him the X's on my wrist. I said, do you know what that is, Mike? He's like, no. I said, well, I'm actually straight edge. I don't drink, I don't smoke, so thus I don't carry lights around with me or anything, cigarettes. I don't drug. It's a lifestyle, straight edge lifestyle, right? I'm not judging anyone who does. I've told this story in a straight edge Facebook live or video that you can probably see below me somewhere. So I explained what straight edge was in. He's like, oh, it's really interesting, yeah. And I told him there's a little bit of this story. And I'm like, and he didn't ask me for anything other than the light. And he did the thing that I just talked about, the law of reciprocation. He did it to me. He's a smart guy, this fella Mike. I don't know if he consciously employed this technique, but I like the guy. And I'm not someone that goes out there and gives money to homeless people, if I'm honest with you. I know it's people, I give money to homeless and charities. It's not really how I work. I give time and energy. I'm not a big giver of money of homeless people. But I stopped. I'm like, Mike, I don't have a light. And he didn't ask me for change. I also don't have any change. I just had my my debit card, which is on my phone. Didn't even have any credit cards, just debit to get the juices for me and the Hypno Pixie. But I said, you know what, Mike? I'm just about to go over there to Booster Juice. And I'm going to get a juice for me and my girlfriend, because it's our cheat night, our cheat meal, carbs, whatever. Can I get you something? He's like, after what I said to you? I'm like, yeah, can I get you something? And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I want to get you something. Because the guy didn't ask me for anything other than the light. And I felt this in debt, right? And I like the guy. It's all part of it. Whether he was doing it consciously or not, maybe he was. He's a really smart guy. But I crossed over. I said, what do you want? And I said, yeah, you want a drink? You want a juice? Or you want a sandwich? He's like, well, I actually like one of those acai berry juices because they're really high in antioxidants and fight off a lot of illness and sickness. I was like, wow. Boy, smart guy. Smart guy. We judge people, don't we? I know I do. When I catch myself judging someone, I often change it, because everyone judges. It's an automatic thing. You can't stop the trigger. You go into the old program. But when I catch myself, more times than not, I'll stop it. And I guess, I'm just thinking, what would this guy know about healthy juices? He knew the exact juice that he wanted, and he knew why he wanted the juice. So I went in and, get the juices, come out and give him the juice and stuff, and not drugs. I know juice is another term for drugs. I'm talking about the booster juice. And it's cold. It's cold, right? it starts to rain a little bit, and I need to get home because my curry's waiting and my girlfriend's waiting, and I want to get my juice and all that stuff. And I stopped. I just stood there talking to him for a while because I was curious. I was generally curious because, you know, I do a lot of work with people with all forms of addiction. And I just stood there and I'm like, so tell me your life, tell me your story, Mike. What's put you on the street? And he told me like somebody used to be addicted to stimulants. By that I thought, what, coffee and Red Bull? He's like, no, like cocaine and you know, other stimulant drugs, speed and so forth, which led into some other drugs, which led to him being on the street most of his life. And he's about a 55-year-old guy. So I learned a little bit about that, and I know in Ottawa it's a bit different, which is the capital for anyone who's watching outside of Canada. It's the capital of Canada. It's not Toronto, although it should be. It's what everyone thinks outside of Canada. I certainly did, that Toronto's capital. And he was telling me, yeah, when it gets below a certain temperature, they need to put you up in like a hostel or a church or something with some warmth. And he said, but Luke, I'm all right. I'm all right because, listen, I've got that if I need to. But I also, it's not that bad here. I sleep on these air vents that keep the warm air coming up. It's not that cold at all. He's like, but I'm really trying out my daughter. I'm like, hey, what's happening with your daughter? And he shared this story with me. It was quite heartbreaking, actually. He's like, well, she's an addict. She's got like lots of issues, addictions with, I think it was meth as well. I think it was meth. And some other stuff, and it's like she's in a lot of these hostels or these centres for the homeless people, and to get by, you know, she basically sells her body because it's the one thing that she feels that people see value to. And I just was heartbroken, right? Because I don't have any kids, none that I'm aware of. It's a cheap joke, I know, but it's Saturday night, and it broke my heart. I thought, if I ever was a father, right, and I was in that position, that's already tough enough. But then knowing I had a daughter that was in a similar position, and, you know, she was having to sell her body because it was the only thing that she thought that people would pay for. And I think if I was a dad, that would probably be harder for me to deal with than being homeless, knowing that, you know, my daughter, and I'm doing my best. And he was saying that I'm doing my best. And, you know, I'm a very spiritual guy, he was telling me, and I'm doing my best for my daughter, trying to get her in, you know, other homes and stuff. But it's, you know, it's tough, some of these places where homeless people will come together. You know, some of them, they've all got various issues. Some of them are addicts and some of them are not good people for whatever reason. And, you know, his daughter was in this position, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart a little bit. I figured, how would I deal with that if ever I was in a situation like that? But he was sharing that, you know, he shared that with me, and I said, what about you? Are you know, no judgment, are you addicted to anything? He's like, well, no, I was addicted to like coke and speed, some other stuff as well, but, you know, and alcohol, but, you know, I've been clean for a couple of years. I'm like, that's amazing, man. I'm like, how'd you do that? I was expecting, you know, to tell me rehab or something. He's like, no, I just made a choice a few years ago, seeing what was happening with my daughter, wanted to be a better dad and what have you, and some other things as well that I can't quite recall. But yeah, I made a choice. There was no rehab. I couldn't afford rehab. Didn't know anyone to put me in rehab. Anything. I just made a choice and I stopped. And he's living on the street. And he stopped. Isn't that amazing? It was like extraordinary. It kind of blew my mind a little bit, you know. And yeah, it was just imagine this starts off, we're about to get into a fight, cocksucker, right? And then yeah, like, well, I need to get home, but, you know, like, are you here? Is this your spot? He's like, yeah, I'm here. Sometimes I move up and down, but I'm going to be here over the weekend. I'm like, well, he's like, if you drop by, please come and say hello. I'm like, totally, of course I will. And then, you know, it was probably a whole interaction was about 30 minutes. And I got home and I was, you know, told my girlfriend when I came home about him and stuff. And I have these unique situations and interactions with human beings. It's even in times of pandemic, I have very, very interesting interactions with people out there in the public. It kind of tickles me and makes me smile. Even in the last week, some other things that are not related to addiction or hypnosis, just random people interactions that I've had over the last week with people that have been exceptionally positive, you know, which is an amazing thing. But yeah, I wanted to share that story. How something turned out like I wasn't angry and I didn't want to fight anyone, but I would have. If I had to, I would have, and I wouldn't have stopped. But I didn't want to. But I gave that guy the moment. And he actually said one thing to me, after we became friends. And he realised he wasn't going to get maced. He's like, that was really amazing how you dealt with that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I saw when you came back, you weren't frothing at the mouth angry, you weren't swearing anything. But I knew it was going to go one or two ways. And the way that you gave me that option, and if it could go one or two ways, it was like an amazing way of dealing with what you dealt with, the insult from me. And I took that as a compliment. I'm like, all right. Because, I just, like I say, I don't fuck with anybody. I just want to get on with my life. You can burn down your side of the world if you want. It's not my battle. My battle is me, dealing with my shit. Looking after me, looking after people I love. That's my job. That's my one job. If you don't fuck with me, I'm not going to fuck with you. If you don't fight with me, I ain't going to fight with you. If you don't fight or hurt someone I love, then I'm not going to fight or hurt you. But yeah, great lesson, great interaction. It started off in a really, really weird, potentially violent way, in a horrible way, but was a beautiful, positive experience, So what can you learn from that? If you're suffering from some addiction, what can you learn from it? Well, what I learned from Mike is he's not in an advantageous situation whatsoever to overcome an addiction. He's not at a rehab. He wasn't at a rehab centre 3 years ago when he got clean. He didn't have a sponsor. He wasn't attending AA meetings or NA meetings. He wasn't replacing it with another drug, maybe just as potent, but would kill him in another way if he overdosed on it. None of that. He just made a decision. He was a spiritual guy. We didn't get too much into, if that was religion or not, but he was spiritual. He did tell me that. He said, Luke, what got me up, I realised I needed to change my life. I'm a spiritual guy. I needed to change it for me and for my daughter. He just made a choice. The thing with choices is we take them for granted, but to make a decision, you know what the actual word decision means? I believe it's Greek or Latin. In its Greek or Latin origin, to make a decision, what it actually means is you cut yourself off from any other possibility. You draw the line in the sand and you're like, I've made a decision. This is it. I've drawn the line in the sand. I've cut myself off of any options. This is the way. And whatever demons I have to face, whatever battles, internal or external, I have to get through, whatever fires I need to put out, inside, outside, I will do it because I've made a decision. I've cut myself off from it being any other way. I understand what my battle is. I understand what my war is. I understand my demons. And I will find a way, no matter how dark this may get at times. And, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. So those beautiful lessons, I think, that we could all learn from. Whether we're addicted to a substance, a relationship, a TV show, porn, habit, sex, biting our nails, obsessive thoughts. It doesn't just have to be an addiction to a illicit substance. Or maybe you're not addicted to anything, in which case you're a fucking liar, because everyone is, including me. But remember, not all our addictions are created the same. But what is there to learn from that about making a decision, about the strength of the human will, about having something that's more important? His daughter, his love for his daughter and getting her clean and fighting for her, and what she's going through was more important to him than getting high. It's more important to him than getting high and being numb or high or feeling good in the moment. His love for his daughter. So there's a lot to be learned there. So if you're watching this on the live, got any comments, questions, you can put them in the comments below. If you're watching live, you got any questions, or you're watching recorded later on, you can put your questions below. As always, spread the word. If you know someone else that's suffering from addictions or anything that a story like that, which is true, did happen yesterday, could help get them to the next level, get them to be better, more healed, more actualized person, please do share this video with them. If you're part of a group that this video would help, then please share this video to those people in the group. Also, for the next week, I'm doing screening calls. I always do screening calls, but for the next week, they are free. I usually charge $15 for a screening call. This is not therapy. This is before I even work with someone to see if I can work with you. It's 45 minutes on the phone or some kind of Facebook messenger audio. But it's free for the next week. If you're serious about getting help, not blaming the world, not even blaming yourself, but taking responsibility, and you want to take that first step to seeing how potentially I can help you, help yourself, then do click on the link below. Book your screening call with me, and we get you through that door and to the next level, and helping yourself, heal yourself, resolve what needs to be resolved, so you don't need to be addicted to anything that could destroy you anymore. Deb says, great story. People are amazing if you give them a chance sometimes. Yeah, they are. You know what? Sometimes we don't give ourselves a chance either. So sometimes we give ourselves a chance. We're a bit kinder to ourselves. We have a bit more patience. So things that I'm learning about myself. Like they say, charity begins at home. So realising that you're amazing as well. Give yourself some time, some kindness and some patience. And you become a better person for everyone out there. But that being said, I'll see you, same Luke time, same Luke place, same Luke channel. Always believe.